So we have the full moon coming up in Leo here on the 25th. And so I got drawn to just draw to pick up my moonology cards and shuffle and see what drops out. And so even before I do that, the moon being in the sign of Leo is the sign of the sun. It's the sign that the sun rules. So it's almost like reflecting. What I'm getting is like reflecting where you need to shine your light, which doesn't sound quite like it captures all of it, but it's like the creative side of you, and however that manifests for you or whatever feels good for you from a creative standpoint, things are going to come to the surface because we also, and when I pull up the chart, you'll see this, Pluto is within 5 degrees of the sun. So Pluto and the sun together both met at 29 degrees Capricorn, and then they together moved into Aquarius on the 20th of this month. And so they're still blending energies, and this full moon in Leo is opposing Pluto. So Pluto is definitely in the energy of this full moon. So let me see here what I get here from the Moonology deck. Let's see what drops out to be kind of like an overarching energy for this one, or a message that needs to come through. We also have Uranus that's going to be going direct at the end of the day tomorrow. So that's going to be, it's the last one of the planets that are coming out of retrograde. So everything will be direct at that point. So the symbolism of that, everything will be direct, everything, energy moving forward again, energy moving out from the center. And so let's see what dropped. So I got the Aries and Pisces cards, which is interesting. So the Aries card I got is a fiery climax approaches, and you probably won't be able to see this. It doesn't really do a great job of, there we go. A fiery climax approaches, full moon in Aries. So taking action, cardinal energy comes out. And then the Pisces energy, balance, spirituality, and practicality, full moon in Pisces. And that's interesting here. Let's see if I can get it to focus on this. There we go. Balance, spirituality, and practicality, full moon in Pisces. So we got 2 full moon cards here with the Aries and Pisces energy in the Leo archetype. So the overarching energy is like taking action on things that really, there's a couple things that feel really aligned from a soul perspective is what I'm getting. And it's almost like it's not so much it's like things coming to the surface that you take action on that are part of your soul purpose, or part of your, at this point in time, are part of how it feels really good for you. That's not right. It's a time period of whatever has been coming to the surface for you internally that you want to express has the opportunity for there to be direction in terms of where to aim it, where maybe it has been aimed, or you have felt, I feel like it's kind of this, and I want to do this, and I've tried many different ways of doing it, and I've felt like nothing is quite clicked into place. The energy I'm getting is this Leo full moon is the Aries spark to finding an appropriate, doesn't sound like the right word. It's more like, at this point in time, the right path for that energy to flow down. So let's jump to the chart and see what I get here by looking at the chart. So I'm already getting pulled to Saturn in Pisces, which has a supportive aspect to Venus in Capricorn. But let me pull up the chart and take a look here and see what else comes through. And I mentioned while I was shuffling the cards about Uranus going direct at the end of the day tomorrow. And I feel that's important here. I feel like with that being with Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius and the sun Pluto being in Aquarius, and now we have forward movement with that planet that rules Aquarius, I think that's important, meaning that this full moon in Leo, it's like things come to the surface. And then tomorrow is like Uranus going direct is like the actuator, or it's that representation of the full moon in Aries, where a direction starts to become clear in terms of where to focus your energy. And so here's a look at that full moon in Leo, which is taking place here in PST time zone, Pacific Northwest of the United States, January 25th at 9:53 a.m. And so here is that full moon. Here's the sun conjunct Pluto, which is shining its light on the full moon. And so what I'm getting here, I get drawn to the inconjuncts, which are right here, the aspects here. I'm also drawn to this square to Jupiter here in Taurus. And so let me talk about this inconjunct here. So we have an inconjunct to this Saturn in Pisces, which is in a supportive aspect, sextile aspect to Venus here in Capricorn. And so this is the finger of God, if you're familiar with this aspect in astrology, which is two inconjuncts, which are connected by two planetary bodies that are sextile. And then you have an apex, which is the point, the focal point. So the focal point here is the Leo full moon. And if we look at these archetypes, you have Venus in Capricorn, which is Capricorn is societal structures, but it's also the structures that you create for yourself or the structures that you allow yourself to be part of. It's certainly Venus is a symbol of relationships. It's not just relationships, it's your relationship to yourself too. So yeah, I mean, it's relationships, but it's not just external with the people around you. It's also the relationship to yourself. And so that's in a supportive aspect to Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn in the sign of Pisces. And so we got this card here, balancing spirituality and practicality. That's literally Saturn in Pisces. That's an excellent description of this card, is creating this balance where you can have, like, and I don't want to talk about this too much, but Neptune and Pisces can kind of get off in the ethers and not really be grounded. And now Saturn comes into Pisces and says, okay, well, let's focus this energy. Let's create a solid container for it, which goes back to this card that I pulled. So with this Saturn and Venus being in a supportive aspect and focusing its energy, or usually an inconjunct means there needs to be adjustments there, or there needs to be some awareness or maybe a disconnect. An inconjunct is usually it's the Virgo and the Scorpio archetype, which means there needs to be some refinement, or there needs to be some tweaking, or there needs to be some adjustments in terms of how this is done. But what I'm getting here with this energy is maybe it wasn't exactly the way you had envisioned, is what I'm getting with this aspect here, with this inconjunct, with these inconjuncts to Venus and Saturn. Maybe you've had some ideas of how to express yourself. And again, this is expressing yourself is pretty wide in terms of how that can be interpreted or how it can be expressed from the individual standpoint. So for you, put it in your own circumstance, but how I've wanted to express this thing within me that I feel is important for me to get out. Maybe in this time frame, or where this full moon in Leo on the 25th comes out, and then it's followed quickly by Uranus going direct, there's this almost tower moment, or there's this awareness of this is where it needs to be focused. And it's really not how I had planned it or envisioned it or thought that it was going to come out. It's different. And it may be jarring, is the word that comes to me, or going to take some getting used to, is the word that comes to me. It's not quite, it's like a curveball. It comes in from the side, and possibly as part of it, you're in a situation or a circumstance or even forming a relationship where things come to light, where it's uncomfortable. It's almost like you know that this is the path to go, but man, this really, this isn't really what I envisioned, or the path that I thought this was going in. And it actually brings up a little bit of uncertainty for me. And it causes me some tension within myself, which is this aspect here, this square with this energy pointing here to Jupiter in Taurus. So Jupiter in Taurus, Taurus is the inner side of Venus. Taurus is your values, how you sustain your existence. It relates to sexual energy. It relates to, these are the things that I value and I surround myself with, that adds to my self-esteem, that adds to my self-worth, that sustains my existence. And so this square here to this is like similar to what I was getting with this inconjunct, is ultimately it's supporting your expansion, Jupiter in Taurus. It's expanding your energy outward, even if you don't perceive it from your perspective as being that way. And that's the energy signature that I'm getting here. Now with Pluto in the mix, so I mentioned Pluto is still blending energies with the sun, shining its light on this full moon in Leo. Pluto is one of the things Pluto represents, is things that are underneath the surface, maybe things that are unconscious or that you're not aware of. And so I feel that energy as part of this full moon is what I spoke about when I did the Pluto and Aquarius video, is really the underlying energy of this time frame is individuality, meaning that it's really going to be, not it's really going to be, the energy that's being experienced by the collective is one where shit's going to come to the surface that needs to come to the surface. And that won't always be pretty. It won't always be rainbows and unicorns. It won't always look like you think it's going to look, but it's required for you to be able to express yourself authentically. And so what I'm getting here with this first moon cycle with the sun and Pluto going into Aquarius, and it being in the sign of Leo, which is the sign ruled by the sun, is what lights you up your soul purpose. It's like the phrase I'm getting, or what I'm feeling, is we need you to be the best version of yourself. And for that to happen, things need to come to the surface. Pluto is in the mix. Pluto wants to shine a light, sun, shining its light to the moon in Leo, wants to show you things that are underneath the surface that maybe you've been operating and you've been going along at a certain pace, or you've been experiencing life in a certain way. And now this energy signature is like things need to come to the surface that you've been unaware of so that it can be seen, moon in Leo, which may be uncomfortable, which is this square to Jupiter in Taurus. It may course correct you, which is also a symbol of an inconjunct, meaning that I didn't know it was going to go this way, or I was going to need to make a right, or this circumstance came about and pushed me down this path. But know that it's part of the process of getting you in alignment with who you really are at your core, at a soul level. And so that's the main energy signature I see here with this full moon. The other thing that's coming in from the side, which I usually always navigate towards relationships because those are critical and so important to understanding who we are and adding value to our existence and seeing different perspectives and different ways of doing things and help, assistance, all of those things, all of the information. What am I trying to say here with this Libra energy? Think of being on this planet by yourself and interacting with Earth and all of the things on it, minus anyone else on the planet. What are we doing, right? So it's really, relationships are foundational. So we have this creative transformation, this quintile creative transformation aspect to the South Node in Libra. So certainly relationships that, just think of the underlying energy of creative transformation within relationships and relating to you, how you shine your light, your Leo energy, the creativity within you, how you want to express that, the right container to express that. Or let's just say you are shown a container to express that, which may be different than what you had envisioned. So I wanted to clarify that. But with this creative transformation aspect to Libra, it's more relationships. The overarching energy I'm getting is relationships that are around you are helping you see things within yourself that need to be seen. Pluto up there, kind of a little bit of that. More so, what I'm getting is relationships helping you structure that energy in a way that you need to at this point in time. I keep getting pulled to, it's going to look different. It's not going to look like you think it looks, or there may even be like when this situation changes, or this circumstance happens, or this epiphany takes place, that there's almost like, I feel like a disappointment, or really, like, that's not like what that's not really what I thought. And so I keep getting this energy. But back to this creative transformation, it's like people are reflecting to you the things that you need to understand or integrate or see within yourself that have been underneath the surface. So it's really important, as part of this energy and what I just spoke about, to be really open to the feedback in relationships, but then also there's the commitment piece here, because Libra, the ruler of Libra is Venus, which is over here in Capricorn. and we have all of this Capricorn energy, which the ruler of that is in Pisces. So I'm getting connected to all of these different points. And that Capricorn energy is again like this focused energy and this energy of, or it's taking this wide open energy and funneling it into this specific area. And so it's going to be different for each of you in terms of how this is experienced. This could be a close relationship to you, a committed relationship that you've been a part of, that things come to the surface in, that shift the direction for you, specifically for you, could be for both of you or all of you. But since I'm doing this individually, it's going to shift things for you down a path that it's uncomfortable, but I know I need to go down this path can be part of it. The other energy I'm getting here too is committing to certain relationships and saying, yeah, maybe I haven't committed enough to certain relationships that are in my life. And because of that, it's held back my light, Leo. It's held me back, at least up until this point in time, in terms of being really able to fully express myself, because it's almost like there's been some kind of unconscious patterning that's held me back from getting closer or committing or doing this thing with groups of people or a certain person, or stepping into the energy of what that relationship can create, that entity called a relationship, that when I form it with these other people or this person, it creates this third entity, which is creating things that I could not have created on my own. And so that's the type of energy I'm getting here within relationships. And the overarching energy within relationships, with the nodes being in Aries and Libra, comes back to the North Node in Aries, which has been hanging out with the asteroid Eris and Chiron, which the energy I get there is healing. And healing your self-expression, going back to this card, this Aries card I pulled, which is a fiery climax approaches, full moon in Aries. That energy is part of this as well. Like, so some of you, it's almost like the Tower card, or this fiery type energy. I'm not getting so much like the Mars aggression, anger, fighting, separation, although it's collective reading, so that could be part of the energy. But more so I'm getting is just understanding, in line with this Pluto and Sun going into Aquarius, understanding or having things come to the surface to help support the all of who you are. How do I take myself, Leo, my creative self-expression, and be able to focus that energy in a way that helps humanity? The only way that I can do that is to know who I am and be able to express myself authentically. That's the first part. That needs to be working really well before I can effectively impact the people around me and humanity. And so that's part of this as well. So as always, thank you so much for your time and your energy. I appreciate you checking this out, and we will talk again in another video. Take care.